the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavallaey. Today we are previewing matchday 1 of the Champions League, Manchester City against Inter at the Etihad Stadium. A rematch of the 2023 Champions League final in this newly formed, revolutionised Champions League, 36-team group. Each team playing 8 matches instead of 6 against 8 different opponents. If you want to understand how the new format works in full and get a full preview of the new Champions League season as a whole, then do check out the show, that special show that's Nima and myself put together. It's on all of our podcast apps, or you can watch us on YouTube. So do check that out if you want more detail and more information on all of that. But today we're going to be just previewing the first game of the new match day of the new season, match day 1 between City and Inter. We're recording this before the weekend. The weekend league matches in the Premier League and in Serie A. And before that, City have made a perfect start to the season, 100% record, and Inter have also made a very good start to the season, 2 wins and a draw, joint top of Serie A. So this is a good test, I think, to see where Inter are at, with a similar team that played against City in that 2023 Champions League final. First of all, just before we look at this game, I mean that was a great performance, that final, wasn't it? And I think Inter will probably be. I don't know what impact do you think that final will have on this game for Inter?
I think that season, when they reached the Champions League final, the way that Inter have spoken about that season, that already in August they said we have a dream to reach the Champions League final, and the fact that they did reach it, and the fact that they were so close actually to potentially even winning it, left a taste of hunger in their mouth, in the sense that no one at Inter would say this publicly, but it's obvious that the Champions League has a special place for them this season. They would never say that we're prioritizing the Champions League over the Serie A. Absolutely not. They've come out and said that we want to win the Serie A and repeat ourselves and do better in Europe. But it's just everything around Inter is they've got one eye there on that trophy. And they want to start off and send a message, I think. And so when they play Monza this weekend, because we're recording this before that game, away, I think that lineup will be very indicative of the lineup that Inzaghi plays against City, because he will have to rotate. This can't be like last season. And given how Frattesi's played, how Taremi's played, how Zielinski's played, he has to rotate. It's just that simple. And of course, with Bastoni having already played a lot and have suffered like muscle fatigue, Çalhanoğlu as well for their national teams and clubs already. So on top of a very heavy pre-season, there's going to be quite a bit of rotations. So I think we're going to see the first team against City. And to beat City away at the Etihad would send such a strong message. And I think if anyone is going to be fired up for that game, it is Lautaro Martinez. This is the tournament he needs. I mean, he's already won everything in Italy. He's already been the MVP, top scorer, won the Scudetto as the main guy. Now it's about doing it. He's done it for Argentina, winning the Copa America as well, as the main guy, scoring the winning goal in the final. This, and becoming top goal scorer and MVP. So now it's the Champions League that's left. So I think it's going to be, this is his tournament. So I think he's going to, this is the big one for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. Just before we come on to where the game will be won and lost, let's have a look at the team news and the players who are out of this game. So for City, Oscar Bob is out until the new year, which is a shame, because he was really starting to develop into a quality player. Inter Barella had no surgery during the international break, but is back. And Buchanan is out until the latter part of 2024. Other than that, most of the key players are pretty much there, really. Again, ahead of the league matches before the Champions League games. Manchester City probable 11, always difficult to predict because City have such a ridiculously deep squad, so much quality. It's just insane how many players they've got. Two quality players in base virtually every single position. So this is always difficult. But so far this season, City have played a 3-2-4-1 or a 4-2-3-1. 3-2-4-1 is kind of what Pep has been leaning more towards recently. So we could probably predict Kanji, Diaz, and Gvardiol maybe in defence, but there's always the chance that a Walker, Stones, or Ake could start. Again, very, very difficult to predict. In midfield, Rodri has been missing the early parts of the season. He's been given an extended rest, but he could potentially come back in for this. Otherwise, it would be probably Kovacic, who has been really, really good so far this season. And then Gundogan has returned to Manchester City, so there's a possibility he could start. Otherwise, Rico Lewis would stay there. But there's also the possibility that Stones could play in centre midfield. It's, again, so difficult to predict. And then in the attacking midfield roles, on the right wing, we're probably looking at Bernardo Silva. I think Savinho could play there, but I think he'd probably go for the more experienced option of Silva. And then on the left, we're looking at Doku or Grealish, probably Doku, I would imagine. And then the two central attacking midfielders, I mean, De Bruyne obviously picks himself, and then Phil Foden again hasn't been so prominent recently, but he could come back in. And then up front, of course, it will be Erling Haaland, who's probably the one player where there isn't a replacement for in the City team after Julian Alvarez left. So that's the City team. Again, quite difficult to predict. Other than whichever team goes out, it's going to be ridiculous quality. As for Inter, I think this is probably easier to predict. So we're looking at, if we're talking about strongest Inter team, we're looking at Sommer in goal, Pavard, Acerbi, Bastoni, then Darmian, Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan, Di Marco across the midfield, and Thuram and Lautaro. So in a kind of like 3-5-2 formation. I mean, is that the system? Is that the formation you think, or team, let's say, you think they will go with?
Yeah. The only thing I could imagine that he would perhaps do Inzaghi, if he wanted to throw a wrench a spanner into the works, would be if he started Josep Martinez in the Champions League. For the same reason that he started Andre Onana in the Champions League. Because Onana basically using Martinez in the build-up phase the same way he used Onana, which makes Inter so much more difficult to press. That's the only thing. Otherwise, if everyone's fit, that is the lineup. And I think, again, watch this lineup against Monza. I think we're going to see quite a few changes in that game.
Yeah. Once we see the lineups for City and Inter in their pre-Champions League games, then that often tells.
I saw something really strange too that I don't understand what the FA. I mean, we usually make fun of the Serie A for doing and the Lega Calcio for doing this, but how on God's name are they playing Brighton 24 hours earlier? I think
24 hours before.
Yeah. I know, and that was the schedule. I don't know if they've changed it.
Well, that would have definitely changed. Yeah,
it has to. Surely,
no way.
Surely, that's mad. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. But if that's the case, that they have to play Brighton, I mean, Pep's going to send the kids.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's just, I mean, he doesn't have a choice. He can't possibly expect him to sacrifice the opening game of the Champions League for the League Cup. Mad.
Yeah, that is insane. That reminds me of when I was at school and we had a cup final. Our
Bedford stories. Yeah.
My school team had the cup final, the county cup final, We'd actually gone 2 seasons unbeaten. We'd won everything. We won the league both seasons. We won all the cups in the first season. We'd won all the cups in the second season. It was the final game of the season. The final game of before the school finished. Because it was the end of like once you have you have primary, secondary school. It's like the final year of secondary school. So it was our last game before the school ended. And
it's been postponed, and it wasn't against Brighton. It was against Watford. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry,
it's been postponed.
Sorry.
There must have been a League Cup then. Yeah. Well, anyway,
it was a League Cup. Yeah,
we had the final, and the day before, for some stupid reason, the school organised a rugby game that all of us had to play, that we were all made to pay, and so we played the rugby match. And then the final the next day, we were all like exhausted, obviously, and we got hammered 4-1 in the final. That was the only game we lost in 2 years because we were made to play a rugby friendly the day before. It's just like the most stupid thing ever. Reminded me of that.
Oh my god! I have to visit Bedford. I have to view this place by myself. Like everything you've told me and everything our common friend Claudio and all the other friends your friends who I've gotten to know, like I have to visit Bedford. I just have to.
It is unique. Dear. It is unique, that's for sure. On a serious note though, where would this game be won and lost, do you think? You said one of them, you actually think that the goalkeeper actually playing out from the back actually really limited City in that Champions League final.
It did. And I think...
But the high press, of course, is the game where it's always one.
I mean, Sommer's good with his feet, but he's not as good as Martinez, Josep Martinez. And I think that's why they got Josep Martinez in the first place. So I think that's one of those things. And I'm just, like, again, this is not me reporting anything. I'm just putting it out there as what I just a gut feeling I've got. That I think Simone would be open to doing that because he's done it before when he alternated between Handanovic and Onana, although they were different circumstances. But it was a situation where Onana played every single Champions League game.
Handanovic was clearly crap by then, though.
He was awful. He was finished. What are you talking about?
Sommer's still good.
Sommer's still good. But my point is simply that in Europe that season, he used Onana, and it was clear why he did that, because it made Inter so damn difficult to break down because of Andre Onana. The ball at that man's feet, he's good enough to play outfield, like technically. Like his first touch, his passing, I mean, it's insane. So, and Martinez is a goalkeeper in that mold. So that's the only thing. But again, if it's injury free, I do expect Sommer, Pavard, Cherry, Bastoni, and above all, Darmian to play. I think Dumfries will start against Monza, because I'm really happy to see that Inzaghi's understood that the key to unlocking Barella, is to have defensive stability behind him. When he has Dumfries next to him, he has to run and think and do everything for him. But with Darmian there, you have such an intelligent footballer there who's so solid defensively that Barella can focus on the more creative side of things.
Yeah.
So Darmian for sure if he's fit. But Lautaro, Thuram, I think we could see Taremi start against Monza. I expect to see
and like you said before, the key is also Lautaro finally kind of doing it against a big opponent when it matters. Well,
above all, the champion. We have to remember he's on the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or. I interviewed Alessandro Altobelli for Sempre Inter. The interview isn't out yet, and he was like, one of the main things we spoke about, we interviewed him, was Lautaro winning the Ballon d'Or. And look, this year it's more uncertain than ever. I still think Vinicius Junior will win it. But if Lautaro has a fantastic start to the Champions League season in these big games, by the time, we get to the actual, unveiling, who knows what might happen?
Yeah, for sure. Predictions. What are you thinking?
I actually think Inter will win this.
Oh wow!
I think Inter will win this. I think they'll win 1-0. I think it's going to be a very tight game, and I think Inter will just scrap it away, like run away with it, steal it. and have all the English punditry talk about all the titles or stereotypes about Italian football and Catenaccio and all the other stupidity that they always say about Italian football, even though that not being true. And I'm going to love it. But even, that's why I'm kind of hoping that Milan and Atalanta win as well, because I'm going to love them talking out of their asses. But I think it's going to be quite the tight game. It's going to be interesting. I'm kind of hoping he plays Mateo Kovacic in midfield, not because I don't think Mateo Kovacic is a good player. I love Mateo Kovacic, but I do think that he could be a potential weak spot for Inter to press and win the ball off of him, because physically Kovacic, that's not the best aspect of his game. He's a fantastic player, but I do think that there's a potential weakness there. Not by much, because City, like you said, are a super team. They don't have any weaknesses. But of all the players playing, I think Kovacic could be someone you can actually bother and win the ball off of in the build-up phase, high up, and go turn the counter.
Yeah, I'm. Man City have been incredible so far. They've looked so good so far this season. I think I have to go for City 2-1. But I mean, I hope. I think. Listen, I think Inter are going to go through, and it'll be comfortable because, again, a bit like Milan, kind of like half the teams in their group are pretty much gimmies. So for that reason, I think that they'll be fine going through. But they probably do need to win one of their kind of matches against the bigger teams, or one or two of them, if they want to try and qualify automatically for the last 16. I don't think this game it will be decisive for that reason, because it's obviously the hardest game you can play. But
I don't know, man. Like Leverkusen and Leipzig is not like those are
those are not easy, no.
Yeah,
but the others.
Yeah, but the others. I mean, you got Arsenal, you got City, you got Leipzig, you got Leverkusen, and then you have young boys Sparta Prague and Crvena Zvezda. But 3, but 4 tough opponents.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
It's not a dream draw. I'm just happy because of this weird rivalry between Inter and Arsenal fans, which started on the back of a tweet that an Inter fans like there's no rivalry between these two clubs, but it started all off a tweet like last season or the season before that. Can't remember, but it was hilarious. So I'm really looking forward to Arsenal.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game to watch. Okay. Do check out our other previews for match day 1. We've done individual previews of the matches between Atalanta and Arsenal and Milan against Liverpool. And of course, as I said before, check out our preview show of the entire new Champions League season. And that's on all of our podcast apps. And also you can watch us preview it on YouTube as well. Okay, guys, see you next time.